Listen up, you beautiful bastards. I'm Insipid, and this is Trove. What are we up to? We are having one of our little conversations again. But I did want to go ahead and just emphasize that today we're going to bring it back down just a little bit. We have been doing some very heavy topics lately, and you know what? That's good. That's important. That's worth doing from time to time. But I'm sick, and I want to go ahead and try and bring it back just a little bit. It does include a bit of introspection that you might need to get ahead and engage in. Because I'm going to be asking some interesting questions. I think they're interesting. You don't have to think they're interesting. That's not your job. Your job is to listen to me very entertained. Boop, pressing buttons. That said, what is the topic I'm going to be talking about? Skyrim. My God. I have been playing far too much Skyrim for my own good as of late. And there have been some very marvelous moments and exceedingly fun entertainment that I've been able to receive out of it. A couple weeks ago, I was fighting a dragon, and I'm fighting with this guard. This guard's helped me fight this dragon, and we get done with killing the dragon, and the guard was like, "Go cast your fancy magic somewhere else." And I'm like, "Dude, my fancy magic just kept you alive. Do not do that thing to my face. I don't think so. Not gonna play like that. Snapping my fingers a bit, and that's great. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about Parthenax. I'm saying that right. If I'm not saying it right, let me know in the comments section. It's very important. But Parthenax says that the world is coming to an end, and that not every world is meant to survive forever. There are beings that are timeless and exist throughout time and without time. And they experience the destruction of a world. They experience the destruction of an era very, very differently than some others. And that theme runs through the entire game. Skyrim wasn't just good because it had an excellent reinforcement schedule for the grinding that you had in there. Oh my God, leveling stuff up, way too much fun. I'm doing a lightning caster right now. Destruction just has a skill, as a experience, but all in all, once you get to the upper levels, it becomes much more manageable as a thing you're trying to do. Plan to cap at about 50, just so my enemies don't get ridiculously scaled up with me, but that's besides the point. Well, what I'm trying to say is, if you have multiple, if you have all of the attack styles maxed out at 100, and you have everyone scaled up with you, you don't use one attack style at a time. Bring it down a notch. Very much aside, let's bring it back home, shall we? Parthenax says the era's come to an end. And I'm doing the Dark Brotherhood. Now what I want to do, F button. Yep, there we go. Dark Brotherhood. They were prolific. And for centuries, they had sanctuaries hither and thither. You would not dare besmirch a sanctuary for fear of your life, for fear of your enemies being more easily, accommodated and murdering you. Okay, but then you talked about the dwindling of that core of the Dark Brotherhood and its pervasiveness. And you look at the College of Winterhold, how it used to be very well regarded, but then disaster strikes, and they are no longer a source of wisdom, light, or guidance for the world. And so they also lack kind of the connection with the other colleges. Rampant banditry, rampant mercenary work. And the inability of the guards, and that's a big one, the inability of the guards to conduct their duties because of the war that's ongoing. And the notion that there's an ongoing war on 3 levels. 1, Stormcloak versus Imperial. Put that right about the middle. Yeah? Yeah. But then you also have the ongoing threat of the destruction of all existence. Oh, maybe we could fret about this. And it's one of the reasons why I've refused to do the Imperial versus Stormcloak storyline. It seems so stupid. Why am I worrying about this? Why am I fretting about this minor, in the grand scheme of things, minor conflict compared to the possible end of the world? And I just can't justify it. My character just can't justify it. Let me phrase it that way. I don't need them. I'm the Dragonborn. I got this. I'm good. But then there's also the ongoing conflict. That's why I put it a little bit below. With the Thalmor. It's a brooding conflict. It's not an actual ongoing fight right now. It's a we don't like each other and we're both preparing for the inevitable war to come. But it's not an active war. And it's very well demonstrated that the Thalmor have a really seething contempt for the Empire and for any Talos worshippers. And so there's these three levels of time and change that are emphasized in the storyline. The end of the world itself, which you're trying to prevent. One of the speech options is that the next world can worry for itself. And I am immortal. I am not immortal, a mortal. My time will end, and if the world ends after I have any control over it, there's nothing I can do about that. And that's fine. It's not my fight anymore. No one can expect a person to continue fighting beyond their mortality, though ghosts and spirits do come back quite often. So maybe they can. I'm not judging, I'm not telling you how to live your life. And so I want to emphasize for a moment that notion and emphasis of change in the storyline. You have all of these various factions and parties looking out for themselves, looking inwardly, when they're refusing to see larger long-term changes that are coming about. And let's say that you supported the Stormcloaks and you ended the alliance between the Nords and the Empire. That weakens the Empire and makes a Thalmor victory all the more likely, if not inevitable. It also likely dooms the Nordic state to subjugation by the Thalmor and an almost permanent end to Thalmor worship. The end of Thalmor worship as it stands is only propagated by the fact that the Empire agreed with the Thalmor that would be one of the conditions of the end of hostilities. And so you have this really resentful relationship there. And so on one hand, you are fighting to preserve the world. You're trying to preserve the status quo. But inevitably, no matter what you choose, either the Nords stay and you have this kind of, not insurgent, but resentful force within your borders, and the end of Thalos worship, or you have the Nord community leave, and rightfully so. The Imperials are shown as a kind of burgeoning bureaucracy, over-managing and under-managing at the same time, magically, of imbecilic proportions. They are incapable of getting the job done. And you have to recognize how well it's written that both maintaining the status quo and the inevitability of change are both represented. There are so many things that one can try to do to change that, and you can try and create optimal circumstances. But in the end, there's that which you can control and that which you can't. And that's what I was going to bring full circle for this little conversation, because it brought something to mind for me. For me, what I ended up seeing was the fact that there are some things I have control over. I have a great deal of my life in a very stable environment. I've created circumstances that allow me to do what I want to do long term without general disruption. But there are some things that aren't in my control. other groups that are necessary for the functions of my life that I don't preside over. And I must be prepared for changes on their part to become changes on my part, because it's not something in my control. Being able to recognize the difference is a particular source of strife and frustration in my life. I mentioned in the past a sense of fear. That's one of my darknesses. Bringing it full circle. Oh, look at me go. But what I want to emphasize is that you can use your darkness as a source of wisdom. What is your darkness pointing you at? What is your darkness emphasizing as your focus, not your problems, but the sources of your strife? And that is your opportunity to use it as good information, not as good guidance. Darkness rarely gives good advice, but darkness can emphasize what is seen and not seen. So, my big point, the big thing I'm commenting on the situation, it's not Skyrim. It's about being prepared for change in your life. Utilizing what you do have, your sources of strength, your stabilities, and then working from there. Then again, who am I to tell you how to live your life? With that, I do want to say thank you very much for joining us today, and I hope you have an absolutely marvelous time. Take care, everybody.